The 2008 South African 50-cent coin is one of those modern circulation coins that most people have handled without giving it a second thought. Millions of these coins were used in everyday transactions, passing from one hand to another while paying for groceries, fuel, newspapers, and countless daily purchases. Because they were so common in circulation, many people automatically assume they have little or no collector value. But experienced collectors know that assumptions can be expensive mistakes. Modern coins often become collectible for reasons that have nothing to do with their face value. Collectors search for outstanding condition, unusual minting characteristics, production mistakes, and coins that have somehow escaped years of heavy circulation. While thousands of ordinary examples may only be worth face value, exceptional pieces can attract serious attention from collectors who appreciate quality and rarity. One of the first things collectors examine is the overall condition of the coin. Even a coin that has been in circulation for only a short period can show scratches, worn edges, dull surfaces, or tiny marks from everyday use. A coin that remains bright, sharp, and nearly untouched stands apart immediately. The finer the details remain, the greater the interest it may generate among collectors. When examining a 2008 50-cent coin, experts carefully inspect every design element. The lettering should appear crisp and complete. The date should be bold and easy to read. Every line and curve should display strong definition without excessive wear. Small differences that seem insignificant to the average person can make an enormous difference when professionals evaluate a coin. Collectors also pay close attention to the edges of the coin. Damage around the rim may reduce its appeal, while a perfectly preserved rim often increases collector interest. Every part of the coin contributes to its overall grade, and grading plays one of the biggest roles in determining market value. Professional grading has transformed modern coin collecting. Instead of relying only on personal opinions, collectors often prefer coins certified by respected grading services. These companies examine authenticity, preservation, surface quality, and strike before assigning an official grade. Higher grades generally attract stronger demand because buyers know exactly what they are purchasing. Another exciting part of collecting involves mint errors. Although quality control at modern mints is extremely high, mistakes occasionally slip into circulation. These errors can include off-center strikes, doubled images, clipped planchets, die cracks, or other unusual production flaws. Genuine mint errors are often much scarcer than normal coins, making them especially attractive to collectors searching for something unique. The challenge is learning to separate genuine mint errors from ordinary damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. A scratch from everyday use, a bent edge, or accidental damage rarely increases value. True mint errors occur during the manufacturing process and usually display characteristics that experienced collectors can recognize. Many longtime collectors recommend examining coins under good lighting with a magnifying glass. Tiny details become much easier to identify, including possible doubling, unusual surface features, or die varieties that might otherwise go unnoticed. Patience is often rewarded because valuable discoveries rarely reveal themselves at first glance. The South African 50-cent series also represents an important period in the nation's circulating coinage. These coins reflect the country's modern history and continue to attract collectors both within South Africa and internationally. As time passes, well-preserved examples from earlier years gradually become more difficult to locate because many have accumulated wear through decades of circulation. Another factor influencing collector demand is originality. Collectors generally prefer coins that have not been cleaned or polished. Although cleaning may seem like a good way to improve appearance, it often leaves tiny hairline scratches or unnatural surfaces that reduce collector interest. Many valuable coins actually retain their original appearance, even if they show light toning from age. Storage also plays a major role in preserving collectible coins. Coins stored loosely together may develop scratches and contact marks over time. Those protected inside holders or albums often remain in much better condition. A coin carefully preserved since 2008 has a greater chance of receiving a higher grade than one that spent years moving through everyday circulation. One of the most enjoyable parts of coin collecting is the excitement of searching. Every handful of change carries the possibility of revealing something unexpected. While most coins may be ordinary, collectors continue searching because remarkable discoveries have occurred when least expected. Persistence often becomes one of the collector's greatest advantages. Demand can also change over time. As more people become interested in South African coinage, competition for exceptional examples may increase. Coins that were once ignored sometimes attract much greater attention years later as collectors attempt to complete date sets or locate high-grade specimens. If you own several 2008 South African 50-cent coins, compare them carefully. Look for differences in preservation, strike quality, and any unusual characteristics. Even subtle improvements in condition may make one example much more desirable than another. Organizing your coins and documenting where they came from can also become useful if you decide to have them professionally evaluated in the future. Many experienced collectors emphasize knowledge over luck. The more you learn about minting, grading, and varieties, the greater your chances of recognizing something unusual before someone else does. Every coin tells a story, and every careful examination builds valuable experience. Now let's talk about value. Most 2008 South African 50-cent coins found in everyday circulated condition are generally worth close to their face value, while exceptionally preserved uncirculated examples or genuine certified mint error coins can be worth significantly more to collectors depending on rarity, condition, demand, and professional grading. There is no verified record of an ordinary 2008 South African 50-cent coin being worth $15.22 million, so treat such claims with caution. If you believe you have an unusual example, have it examined by a reputable professional grading service before making any assumptions about its value.
Before we begin, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. If you're a coin lover, a collector, or just someone who enjoys hearing stories of hidden treasures, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Each week, we bring you something that could be hiding in your drawer, your closet, or maybe even your wallet. And trust me, today's story is one of those that might just stop you in your tracks. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever walked past an old coin, flipped it between your fingers, and thought, this is just pocket change? You're not alone. Most of us grew up in a world where coins were simply a way to buy bread, fill the tank, or maybe grab a newspaper. But time has a strange way of changing value, not just in currency, but in meaning, in rarity, and in history. And what used to be just 50 cents might now be worth the price of a mansion. Imagine this. It's the late 1960s or early 70s. You're standing in line at a corner store in Johannesburg. The air is warm. The world is different. You hand over a 50-cent coin to pay for a pack of smokes or a can of condensed milk. No second thoughts. You pocket the change, maybe toss that silver coin in your drawer, and forget it. Life moves on. But what if I told you that very same coin, one just like it, is today making collectors all over the world lean forward in their chairs, holding their breath in auctions, watching bids climb like wildfire? There's something deeply fascinating about South African coins, especially from the time when designs were shifting, leaders were changing, and silver was slowly being phased out. And right in the middle of that moment stood a coin that many never gave a second look, the 50-cent piece. But here's the twist. Not all of them were created equal. Some were struck differently. Some carried errors. Some had such low mintages that finding one today is like fishing for diamonds in the ocean. Now I want you to imagine the following scene. A man in his 60s is cleaning out his late father's desk. Among old pens, worn-out envelopes, and brittle black and white photos, he finds a small coin pouch. Inside, a few rusted buttons, a key that opens no door anymore, and a shiny silver 50-cent coin. He turns it over, notices the coat of arms, the crisp edges, and a date that makes his brow furrow. He shrugs, puts it aside, until something tells him to look it up. What happens next is no ordinary Google search. It's a doorway, a realization. This is no ordinary coin. This is the kind of piece that lives in the dreams of collectors. It's the kind of coin auction houses whisper about. Because this very 50-cent coin from South Africa, carries more than just silver. It carries a story, a scarcity, a secret. Now here's the part that gets really interesting. There's a particular version of this coin, produced during a transitional period, with specific mint marks, exacting detail, and a condition so pristine it looks untouched by time. That is fetch prices many wouldn't believe unless they saw the receipts. We're not talking about a few $100s. We're not even talking 5 or 10,000. We are talking serious figures, numbers that start to make your heart beat a little faster. You see, coins like this don't just become valuable overnight. It takes decades of aging, rarity, collector demand, and that mysterious it factor, something that can't quite be replicated or explained. It's the perfect storm: historical relevance, minting anomaly, and scarcity all in one small, metallic circle. And while most people glance past it, the wise, the patient, know its true potential. Now I know many of you watching right now grew up in a time when we valued things differently. We fixed what was broken. We held on to things. We remembered where we came from. So I'm asking you, what if that old box in your attic, that jar of coins in your garage, or that drawer in your bedroom is holding something that the world is ready to pay a fortune for? What if you've already touched it, maybe even dismissed it? And what if, after all these years, it's time for it to tell its story? I'm not here to hype up every old coin. Not every piece of change from the past is going to make you rich. But every once in a while, there's a coin that breaks the rules. A coin that defies its humble beginnings. A coin that goes from everyday currency to elite collector status. And when that happens, you'll wish you had paid just a little more attention. This is your moment. Check your coins. Look at the years. Notice the detail. Because hidden in plain sight could be the kind of treasure that changes your story. And if you happen to find a 50-cent coin from South Africa, especially one that shines with history, clarity, and rarity, you might just be holding more than a memory. You might be holding a miracle, because the top example of this very coin has been valued, verified, and sold for an astonishing amount. An eye-watering price tag that would have seemed impossible back in the day when you could buy a loaf of bread for a few cents. That number, my friend, is $2 million. Yes, $2 million. And it all began with 50 cents. So go ahead, open that drawer. Dig through those boxes. You never know, the next great coin story might just begin with you. And if you want to hear more stories like this, real coins, real people, real value, don't forget to subscribe. There's a world of hidden treasure out there, and we're just getting started. Welcome to SG Coin Chronicles, your trusted gateway into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and forgotten currency history. From ancient empires to modern rarities, we uncover the stories, values, and secrets behind some of the world's most remarkable coins. Whether you're a collector, a history lover, or simply curious, we bring you well-researched insights, real coin values, and expert commentary you won't find anywhere else. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because every coin has a story, and CoinAZ Pulse is here to tell it. In the year 1966, the Republic of South Africa issued a striking R1 coin that has since captured the attention of serious numismatists and enthusiastic collectors alike. Though much of South Africa's later coinage shifted to base metals, this particular issue stands out thanks to its silver content, bold design, and the story it carries. Over time, it has become more than just currency. It has become a symbol of history, rarity, and investment potential. The obverse side of the coin presents a dignified portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, rendered facing to the right, with the inscription Suid-Afrika 1966 TS in Afrikaans, and on some versions, South Africa 1966 TS in English. The designer credited for the obverse bust is Tommy Sassine. This depiction of Van Riebeeck connects directly to South Africa's colonial and settlement history, making the coin visually meaningful beyond its metallic value. On the reverse side, one finds the national emblematic springbok antelope leaping over the denomination R1, along with the Latin phrase Soli Deo Gloria, meaning glory to God alone. The reverse was designed by Jan van Zyl, his initials JVZ appearing discreetly on the coin. A reeded edge gives the coin a more formal, finished look and aids in its tactile distinction when held. Monthstuck.com +2 coinsbook.net +2 in terms of physical specifications. The coin weighs 15.00 grams, has a diameter of about 32.70 millimeters, and a thickness around 2.25 millimeters. Its metallic composition is silver, often quoted as 80% silver, silver with a small copper alloy, which places it among the precious metal coins of its era. Coinsbook.net +3 monthstuck.com +3 rand coin. Companies EA +3 because silver in coinage gradually gave way to less expensive metals in later decades. Surviving silver issues like this one tend to become more scarce, particularly in pristine condition. The minting numbers for the 1966 1 rand coin in circulation were substantial, with over 1.4 million pieces produced in each language version, Afrikaans and English. Monthstuck.com +1 however. One of the most fascinating rarities associated with this coin is the tagged ear variety of the springbok, a minor die anomaly in which the animal's ear appears elongated or distorted. Estimates suggest that only about 400 of those tagged ear specimens exist, making them extremely sought after by advanced collectors. Monthstuck.com +1 proof versions, struck with special care and often with alternate legends in a single language, are even more rare and commanding in value. Randcoin.companies EA +1 because these coins are demonetized, that is, no longer legal tender. Their value is determined entirely by numismatic demand, condition, grade, rarity of variety, and silver content. The silver base gives them inherent melt value. Beyond that, collectors pay premiums for exceptional condition, full luster, strong strike, or unusual die variations. Over time, the supply of well-preserved examples dwindles, particularly as coins suffer wear, environmental damage, or are lost from collections. What remains tends to be preserved by serious collectors, often in protective holders or slabs. In the broader context of South African coinage, the 1 rand silver issues occupy a transitional role. Coinage in the mid-1960s still included silver in various denominations, but that gradually changed as the mint embraced base metals in later years. From around 1967 onward, nickel and other alloys became more common for everyday coinage, leaving silver issues such as the 1966 1 rand as a symbolic vestige of an earlier era. Wikipedia +3 rand coin, a company's EA +3, thus the 1966 silver 1 rand appeals not only for its own design and rarity, but also for what it represents in the evolution of South Africa's monetary system. Collectors often compare examples by condition, appeal, and certification by grading authorities, such as NGC or PCGS. A coin graded Proof 6.5 or higher can command a substantial premium over an ungraded or lower-grade specimen. The subtle differences in strike, surface reflectivity, and presence or absence of minor marks all influence value. Because the proofs and rare varieties were struck in far lower numbers, and perhaps under special circumstances, they draw intense bidding in auctions and private sales. Stories of dramatic valuations sometimes swirl in collector circles. For example, some online speculation claims that certain exceptional specimens of the 1966 1 rand might be worth millions. But such claims must be viewed with caution. The true market value is anchored in confirmed auction results and private sales of comparable coins in similar condition. Many masses of lower-grade examples trade at modest premiums over their silver content, while genuinely pristine or rare varieties command much higher multiples. Over the years, individual coins have sold at auction or through dealer networks, and documented sales offer insight into trend and demand. For coins in relatively ordinary condition, sales in South African markets have been recorded in the range of a few hundred rands, depending on condition and rarity. Coinsbook.net +3 bobshop.companies EA +3 bobshop.companies EA +3, but as condition and rarity improve, those numbers can multiply dramatically. for the right specimen, especially a tagged ear variety or a flawless proof. Serious collectors may pay thousands or more for acquisition. If you are planning to present this coin to viewers, emphasize its visual appeal, its symbolic resonance, and its story of rarity and preservation. A script that draws attention to the fine details, the refined portraits, the graceful springbok, the Latin inscription, helps audiences appreciate that this is not a mere old coin, but a link between art, history, and value. You can guide them gently through technical terms, weight, diameter, alloy, die variety, without overwhelming, and underscore that in coin collecting the difference between fine and superlative mint state can translate to dramatic differences in price. At first glance, it may appear small, only a tenth of an ounce of gold. Yet that very fraction tells a tale of rarity. Gold coins in fractional weights are often overlooked by casual collectors, but this oversight is what makes them so enchanting. To hold this piece in your palm is to hold a rare intersection between affordability and exclusivity, between the accessible and the elite. Every inch of its surface was sculpted with intention, every curve and relief a whisper of artistry. The face of the coin features the graceful springbok, leaping across the felt, a silhouette both dynamic and serene. That iconic image has adorned South African gold coins for decades, a testament to national pride and the purity of design. Around its edge, the inscriptions, the year 2015, the weight and purity, the words South Africa, sometimes the mint mark, all integrate with the imagery in perfect balance. There are no superfluous flourishes, no distractions. Each detail has its purpose, reinforcing that sense of elegant restraint that on the reverse, classic elements resonate. The purity hallmark gleams in miniature letters. The golden field shimmers subtly as ambient light shifts, revealing faint textures, almost invisible until you turn it just so. Viewed under a magnifier, the surface shows minute lines and patterns, a fingerprint of the minting process, each confirming authenticity and origin. That level of detail invites close inspection, rewarding the eyes of connoisseurs and experts alike. For collectors, the value of such a coin does not rest solely in its gold content. Yes, the bullion value anchors it to the market, but the real premium comes from its scarcity, its condition, its story. A coin from 2015 in flawless or near-flawless condition, original packaging, full documentation. That combination elevates it above others of its kind. The fewer the specimens remaining in pristine state, the more each one becomes a treasure rather than a mere collectible. Imagine a shelf of gold coins, uniform in weight, design, and place of origin. Now imagine these are gradually filtered. Some show hairlines, others mild wear, a few marred by storage mishaps. The one that remains untouched, original luster, no blemish, becomes the prize. That is exactly the fate of some examples of this South African 10th-ounce coin. These few perfect survivors carry with them not just gold, but an aura. But value is not static. Over the years, interest in fractional gold, in coins with story and origin, has grown. Buyers want more than metal, they want provenance. They want the tale behind the coin. And this South African piece delivers. It is minted in a country globally recognized for gold mining and bullion production. It is part of a lineage, the Great Hall of Fame among coins, yet fractional, thus bridging worlds, collectible and investment. When you speak to serious collectors, you'll hear phrases like premium over spot, numismatic leg, market depth. In this coin, those features have aligned. Its bullion value follows gold's movements, but its numismatic value tracks rarities, auctions, global demand. In prominent auctions, examples of this coin, especially in high grades, have drawn intense bidding, exceeding expectations. Some have passed between private collectors. Others have surfaced in specialty coin exchanges. Occasionally, one emerges in a major auction house catalog, catching the eyes of experts. That excitement is contagious. A collector sees the photo, reads about its condition, notes the year and origin, and wonders, could I acquire this piece of excellence? The uncertainty adds to the thrill, because there is no guarantee this coin will remain available. Once certain specimens are locked in private collections, seldom do they reappear. The law of supply, or the scarcity effect, asserts itself that a great coin does more than sit in a display case. It tells, this was minted in a certain era. It witnessed economic currents, changes in demand, shifts in collector interest. It traveled hands. It may have crossed continents. To hold one is to hold a span of time. When you inspect it, you imagine the presses in South Africa, the vaults, the journeys to auction halls or dealers in Europe, Asia, the Americas. You see the hands that graded it, the eyes that judged its surfaces. You sense the current collector who held it before you, and the potential owner who will hold it next. For those who wish to present this coin to an audience, the narrative is rich. You begin by evoking the moment of its creation, molten gold poured, pressed in dies, the cold imprint of art onto metal. Then you lead the viewer through its design, layer by layer, the springbok in mid-leap, that flawless field, the inscriptions that circle with meaning. You pause to show under magnification the micro-textures and signs of authenticity. You talk about condition, grading scales, the difference between MS, mint state, PF, proof finish, and the slightest marks or toning that shift a grade. You bring in comparisons. What has happened in past auctions? What similar pieces have fetched? You emphasize provenance. Whether the coin comes with original paperwork, packaging, or a well-documented chain of ownership. You show how rarity compounds value, how many were minted, how many survive in top condition, how many are actively available. You close by projecting the future, the enduring nature of gold, the growing appetite for numismatic treasures, and that unique momentum that sometimes lifts a special coin far beyond simple metal value. Throughout, your tone remains respectful, slightly reverent, letting the coin's beauty speak. Use descriptive language that evokes light, luster, texture, heritage. Let your listener or viewer feel weight and substance even through the medium of video or script. Above all, carry a sense of journey. This coin is not just minted, it lives, it travels, it tells.